these people are wasting their time and wasting their lives like that. What did Jesus Christ say? It is easier to thread a camel through the eye of a needle than it is to bring a rich man to the kingdom of God. But the holy name is so wonderful that, as Abhinaveda was describing, that everyone is benedicted. Those who are contaminated, we'll use that word, by unnecessary false ego, it might take them some time. Srila Rupa Goswami, he has said, somehow or another become Krishna conscious. Rules and regulations can come later. So the chanting of Hare Krishna in its distribution, there are no rules and regulations. Everyone can hear, even Prabhupada on his original record album address said, even a dog can take part and chant and dance in ecstasy. The sound vibration is Krishna himself, that one does not need to make any intellectual adjustment. They've come to meet Krishna. Prabhupada writes in regards to a beautiful verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the 3rd chapter of the Adi Lila, in regards to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's identity as Krishna himself. Prabhupada writes in this very beautiful purport that people are not interested in the churches and temples erected by their synagogue, erected by their forefathers, churches, temples, synagogue, erected by their forefathers. They've given that up and adopt the materialistic life. So therefore, we bring the essence of the temple, which, what is going to the temple, going to the church, is to experience and reciprocate God's love. That's where organized religions veer off the track, is when they don't stick to the essence for whatever particular reason, usually material desires, name, fame, profit, adoration, and distinction, individually, collectively, politically, economically, etc. And then the essence becomes lost. So, these verses here, and what we will, the verse today, is the culminative verse of Lord Krishna's presentation or thought process in the most important chapter 8, which is within there's 18 chapters in the Bhagavad Gita, the 6 inner, most confidential chapters, just like if there's a very important person, they'll have a bodyguard on one side and a bodyguard on the other, protection. So the middle 6 chapters deal with pure devotional service and directly approaching the Supreme Personality of God as the original form of Krishna. First 6 chapters ultimately are giving you a step-by-step understanding as to why that is so great and desirable, this confidential knowledge. So this chapter 8, Attaining the Supreme, we just heard in the previous 3 verses, 13, 12, and 11, the different processes by which people try to gain liberation from the cycle of repeated birth and death and enter into eternal life in the spiritual world. Or in the case of impersonalism, impersonalists satiate their material life without any personal understanding or personal position in the spiritual world. So this verse 14, which we're going to read now, does that mean everything I just said wasn't...
It was, but not as clear.
Maybe some preliminary setup should have been done.
It's a perennial issue that we address.
Okay.
But we also recorded it.
Okay.
We see next to it is soon.
All right, so without further ado, this is a famous verse, and I'm pretty sure it's a Bhakti Shastri required verse. Everybody has a book or a iPhone. The Bhagavad Gita is in the back. Okay. So, Ananya Cheta Satatam Yo Mam Smarti Nityasa Tasya Sam Sulabha Partha Nitya Yuktasya Yogina. 814.
14. Beta base.
Ananya Cheta Satatam
Ananya Cheta Satatam
Yomam Smarti Nityasa
Yomam Smarti Nityasasa
Tasyaham Sulabha Partha
Tasyaham Sulabha Partha
Nitya Yuktasya Yogina
Nitya Yuktasya Yogina
Ananya Cheta Satatam
Ananya Cheta Satatam
Yomam Smarti Nityasa
Yomam Smarti Nityasasa
Tasyaham Sulabha Partha
Tasyaham Sulabha Partha
Nitya Yuktasya Yogina
Nitya Yuktasya Yogina
Ananya Cheta Satatam
Ananya Cheta Satatam
Yomam Smarti Nityasa
Yomam Smarti Nityasa
Tasyaham Sulabha Partha
Tasyaham Sulabha Partha
Nitya Yuktasya Yogina.
Nitya Yuktasya Yogina
Okay, can take turns chanting.
Ananya Cheta Satatam
Ananya Cheta Satatam
Yomam Smarti Nityasaha
Yomam Smarti Nityasa
Tasyaham Sulabha Partha
Tasyaham Sulabha Partha
Nitya Yuktasya Yogina
Nitya Yuktasya Yogina Ananya Cheta Satatam
Ananya Cheta Satatam
Yomam Smarti Nityasa
Yomam Smarti Nityasaha
Tasyaham Sulabha Partha
Tasyaham Sulabha Partha
Nitya Yuktasya Yogina
Nitya Yuktasya Yogina
Ananya Cheta Satatam
Ananya Cheta Satatam
Yomam Smarti Nityasya
Yomam Smarti Nityasa
Tasyaham Sulabha Partha
Tasyaham Sulabha Partha
Nitya Yuktasya Yogina
Nitya Yuktasya Yogina.
Anyone else? Okay.
She wants to try.
Go ahead. Don't worry.
Ananya Cheta Satatam
Ananya Cheta Satatam
Yoman Smarati Nityasaha
Yomam Smarti Nityasa
Tasyaham Sattva Subha Sulabha Partha
Tasyaham Sulabha Partha
Nitya Yuktasya Yoginaha.
Nitya Yuktasya Yogina. Jai, very nice. Anyone else? Okay, here's the word for word translation. Ananya Cheta,
Ananya Cheta
without deviation of the mind.
without deviation of the mind.
Satatam,
Satatam
always. Ya,
Ya
anyone who.
anyone who
Mam, me. Krishna,
Krishna
Smarati,
Smarti
remembers. Nityasa,
Nityasa
regularly.
regular
Tasya, to him. Aham, I am. Sulabha, very easy to achieve. Partha, O son of Prita. Nitya, regularly. Yuktasya, engaged. Yoginaha, for the devotee. For one who always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Prita, because of its constant engagement in devotional service. So we will repeat this phrase by phrase. For one who always remembers me
for one who always remembers me
without deviation,
without deviation.
I am easy to obtain,
I'm easy to obtain.
O son of Prita.
O son of Prita,
because of his constant engagement
because of his constant engagement
in devotional service. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. This verse especially describes the final destination attained by the unalloyed devotees who serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Bhakti Yoga. Previous verses have mentioned 4 different kinds of devotees: the distressed, the inquisitive, those who seek material gain, and the speculative philosophers. Different processes of liberation have also been described: karma yoga, jnana yoga, and hatha yoga. The principles of these yoga systems have some bhakti added, but this verse particularly mentions pure bhakti yoga without any mixture of jnana, karma, or hatha. As indicated by the word ananya cheta. In pure bhakti yoga, the devotee desires nothing but Krishna. A pure devotee does not desire promotion to heavenly planets, nor does he seek oneness with the Brahmajyoti, or salvation, or liberation from material entanglement. A pure devotee does not desire anything. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the pure devotee is called nishkama, which means he has no desire for self-interest. Perfect peace belongs to him alone, not to them who strive for personal gain. When a jnana yogi, karma yogi, or hatha yogi has his own, whereas they have their own selfish interests, a perfect devotee has no desire other than to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Lord says that for anyone who is unflinchingly devoted to Him, He is easy to attain. A pure devotee always engages in devotional service to Krishna in one of his various personal features. Krishna has various plenary expansions and incarnations, such as Rama and the Shringa, and a devotee can choose to fix his mind in loving service to any of those transcendental forms of the Supreme Lord. Such a devotee meets with none of the problems that plague the practitioners of other yogas. Bhakti yoga is very simple and pure and easy to perform. One can begin simply by chanting Hare Krishna. The Lord is merciful to all, but as we have already explained, He is especially inclined towards those who always serve Him without deviation. The Lord helps such devotees in various ways. As stated in the Vedas, Kata Upanishad, Yam Evaisha Vinute Tena Labhyas, Tasyaiva Atma Vinute Tanum Syam Svam. One who is fully surrendered and engaged in a devotional service to the Supreme Lord can understand the Supreme Lord as He is. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verse 10, Didami Buddhi Yogam Tam. The Lord gives such a devotee sufficient intelligence so that ultimately the devotee can attain Him in his spiritual kingdom. The special qualification of the pure devotee is that he is always thinking of Krishna without deviation and without considering the time or place. There should be no impediments. He should be able to carry out his service anywhere and at any time. Some say that the devotee should remain in holy places like Vrindavan or some holy town where the Lord lived, but a pure devotee can live anywhere and create the atmosphere of Vrindavan by his devotional service. It was Sri Advaita Acharya who told Lord Chaitanya, "Wherever you are, O Lord, there is Vrindavan." As indicated by the words Satatam and Nityasa, which mean always, regularly, or every day. A pure devotee constantly remembers Krishna and meditates upon Him. These are qualifications of the pure devotee for whom the Lord is most easily attainable. Bhakti Yoga is the system that the Gita recommends above all others. Generally, the Bhakti Yogis are engaged in 5 different ways. 1. Shanta Bhakta, engaged in devotional service in neutrality. 2. Dasya Bhakta, engaged in devotional service as servant. 3. Sakya Bhakta, engaged as a friend. 4. Vatsalya Bhakta, engaged as a parent. And 5. Madhurya Bhakta, engaged as conjugal lover of the Supreme Lord. In any of these ways, the pure devotee is always constantly engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord and cannot forget the Supreme Lord, and so for him, the Lord is easily attained. A pure devotee cannot forget the Supreme Lord for a moment, and similarly, the Supreme Lord cannot forget his pure devotee for a moment. This is the great blessing of the Krishna conscious process of chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Ananya Cheta Satatam, Yomam Smarati Nityasa, Tasyaham Sulabha Partha, Nitya Yuktasya Yogina. For one who is always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Prita, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Sri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace, Srila Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna on this earth, having taken shelter at the feet of the Transcendental Lord. Namaste, Sarasvati Deve, Gauravani Pacharane, Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskita Deshatarane. Obeisances unto you, O spiritual master, O servant of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. You are so kindly teaching the message of Lord Sri Chaitanya Dev and are delivering these Western countries which are filled with impersonalism and voidism. So this is a very wonderful verse and purport, and I would like to read through again, paragraph by paragraph, stopping along the way to make appropriate commentary. This verse especially describes the final destination attained by the unalloyed devotees who serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Bhakti Yoga. Previous verses have mentioned 4 different kinds of the devotees. So Prabhupada is referring to the previous chapter, 7, Knowledge of the Supreme, after describing 4 kinds of bad men, bad people who never surrender unto Krishna. I think we've all have experience of meeting such people. The miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. Who here has met such people who partake in these types of thinkings and activities? That simply by surrendering oneself to the lotus feet of Krishna, one can surmount the stringent laws of material nature. At this point, a question arises. How is it that educated philosophers, scientists, businessmen, administrators, politicians, and all leaders of ordinary men do not surrender to the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, the all-powerful personality of Godhead? Mukti, or liberation from the laws of material nature, is sought by the leaders of mankind in different ways and with great plans and perseverance for a great many years and births. In New York City, the greatest city in the world, Prabhupada wrote, here in 1966. But I'm not happy here. My heart is hankering after that Vrindavan, the place where pure love of Krishna overflows. Building these big, big buildings and skyscrapers, but can they stay in the skyscraper? Can they live in there forever? Simply because they spend billions and billions of dollars buying the real estate and developing it? No. So why don't they use their money, their political power, their influence to conquer over death? Because they can't do it, that's why. So just like in any type of planning, said that this is, your plan will not gain traction, this is unrealistic, unreasonable. But still, hope against hope, they think they'll be happy in this material world. This is called crazy. Actually, when the devotees first went out, now, especially in New York where people have a very good practice and expertise in avoiding anything that's kind of far out and wild. But in the beginning, 50, 60 years ago, seeing a devotee with shaved head was like, and people would taunt you on the street, "What, you crazy? Get a job. Are you out of your mind?" So actually, Prabhupada, hearing this from the devotees, he said, "Well, who's crazy?" And a whole writing of Prabhupada was made, and a pamphlet was made. Are we crazy or are you crazy? And Prabhupada, through all logic and reason, proved that actually they're crazy. Mukti, or liberation, is sought after by the leaders of mankind in different ways and with great plans and perseverance for a great many years and births. Instead, they use their valuable time to make demoniac plans that will step by step, they won't live to see it, but their demoniac disciplic succession will carry forth their plan to enslave humanity and all living entities on this earth for their own nefarious purposes. That they can do, or they think they can do. Krishna allows them to think that they can do that. Engage in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world. But Krishna, he who laughs last laughs best. Paritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya traduskritam, to deliver the pious, the good people, and annihilate the miscreants, I appear millennium after millennium. So it's not that just Krishna appeared 5,100 some odd years ago, or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared some 539 years ago. Krishna is appearing all the time in his Namrup avatar of the holy name of the Lord. But if liberation is possible by simply surrendering unto the Lord, then why don't these intelligent and hardworking leaders adopt this simple method? Why don't they do it? The Gita answers this question very frankly. Those who are not actually philosophers, scientists, so they pose themselves as such, but actually the pure devotees, the spiritual masters in disciplic succession, they're the most qualified scientists, theologians, philosophers, expert in guiding political, What is politics meant to do? What are the politicians meant to do? They're meant to enact the will of God, which is simultaneously the will of the people, for every living entity's ultimate good. They're understood to be public servants, not public masters. They're meant to be administering the public works for the public good, so everything can run smoothly in all proper and necessary categories, economically, socially. So there's proper distribution of all necessary goods, commodities, and services, so that people can spend the majority of their time not working hard just to make ends meet, but they can concentrate, as being advised in today's verse, spend their time practicing, thinking of, remembering Krishna and his pure devotees in the spiritual world, and in that way be fit and qualified to transfer back home, back to Godhead very easily. That is what a leader is meant to do. If they're not doing that, they're a misleader. Plain and simple.
I'm sorry. What are you reading now?
No, I'm just, that's my own realization.
Oh. Can
So those who are not now I'm reading. Those who are not actually philosophers, scientists, educators, administrators, but who pose themselves in modern day politicians, they're very well renowned to be liars. Say one thing and do another. Or they say one thing today and the internet is forever and you can look up what they said previously and it's completely different. Usually around election time, they start singing a different tune. They do not accept the plan or path of the Supreme Lord. They have no idea of God. They simply manufacture their own worldly plans and consequently complicate the problems of material existence in their own vain attempts to solve them. Because material energy nature is so powerful, it can resist the unauthorized plans of the atheists and baffle the knowledge of so-called planning commissions. So this is a very wonderful verse in and of itself, but it's lengthy. Now here are the four kinds of good persons who surrender to the Supreme Lord, even though in the beginning it might not be pure, their motivation. The distressed, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is actually searching for knowledge of God in the Absolute. Unlike the demoniac miscreants, there are adherents of the regulative principles of the scriptures, and they are called sukritana. Su means good, good mind, good heart, good motivation, where du means bad mind, bad motivation, bad intention. Duskritana. The moral and societal, social law, and are more or less devoted to the Supreme Lord. Out of these, there are four classes of men: those who are sometimes distressed, those who are in need of money, those who are sometimes inquisitive, and those who are sometimes searching after knowledge of the absolute truth. These persons come to the Supreme Lord for devotional service under different conditions. So Prabhupada is describing in today's verse that best is not wanting anything from Krishna, but simply want to please him. This is why the Krishna consciousness movement is so valuable and so unique, because it is teaching people and showing people by practical demonstration. The devotees are meant to demonstrate that they are genuinely happy, a type of happiness that has nothing to do with any type of happiness that you can get in the East Village or West Village, particularly on a Friday or a Saturday night. Even if you stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning and have a terrible hangover and a greatly contaminated moral compass on Sunday after trying to enjoy Saturday night, for example, that they can see that there is a different, because this is the only thing that's being shown to them by the media, by the school, by the politicians. This is how you enjoy. So people are like helpless. Srila Prabhupada said that 5%, or maybe even a smaller percentage of that, are actively plotting and scheming and have the power to enslave the rest of the living entities, whereas the rest, 95 or more percent, are simply innocent and being taken advantage of. So there is a different type of happiness which is by far superior. And one of the byproducts of happiness in Krishna consciousness, you can read in the beginning of Nectar Devotion, is that it automatically gives you liberation from the material world. Just like if you have $1 million, you don't have to worry about spending $3.50 to buy a water in the bodega because you're thirsty. You don't even think about it. Anyabhilasita sunya, jnana kamari anavritam, anukliyena krishnano, shilanam bhaktir uttama. One should render trance-loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. When these four kinds of persons, the distressed, the inquisitive, the desirous of wealth, and as Krishna says in the next verse, of these four, one who is in full knowledge and who is always engaged in pure devotional service, one who's actually looking for me, he is the best. For I am dear to him, and he is dear to me. So, when these four kinds of persons come to the Supreme Lord for devotional service and are completely purified by the association of a pure devotee, they also become pure devotees. So it's not that it's just the holy name of the Lord that is purifying the world. It has been brought by Krishna's chosen representative, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada has said that the chanting of the holy name should be heard from the lips of a pure devotee. So anyone can chant Hare Krishna anytime, any place, hearing it from anyone. The first time I heard the chanting of Hare Krishna was in the last of the 4-year run of the rock musical Hare, which went from 1968 to 1972. My mother brought me in 1972 to see that Broadway musical up in the Times Square Theater District, and much to my amazement, I heard the Hare Krishna mantra for the first time in my life, and I also saw something else I had never seen. The whole cast came out singing the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in the All Together. That's a nice way of saying they had no clothes on. And I was, but that was the beginning for me. And let's go back 6 years earlier. It was right here, actually in Prabhupada's apartment upstairs in 1966, when the two individuals who wrote the music and the script for that famous Hare musical, later became a movie, etc., etc. I mean, they were telling Prabhupada what they were doing. You know what Prabhupada told them to do? You should put the chanting of Hare Krishna into your rock opera musical. And you know what? That's just what they did. So Prabhupada, in another place, he says that to encourage you, okay, you might not be perfect, but if you follow the instructions of the perfect person, and this is in regard to, it's like you're in trade school, and you're instructed to turn the screwdriver under the instruction of the expert electrician or...
Oh my God. Oh my God.
If Jayadvaita Maharaj was here, he'd be very upset with you, but I'm not Jayadvaita Maharaj, so I'm not that upset.
Krishna called me.
I'm sorry. It was off. I don't know how we started doing it.
It's
It's happened to all of us.
Yeah, it was off. It was off. I turned it off. I don't know what's happened.
Sorry.
Thank you.
So if a perfect,
what was I saying?
you say if a perfect person gives instructions.
Right. So if you turn the screw, you might not be perfect in knowing how the whole thing works and all the intricacies, but if you turn the screw like you're told, then that action is completely pure and perfect because you did it under authorized instruction. So anyone who comes to spread Krishna consciousness anywhere outside of India from now and forever has to recognize and acknowledge the one who cut the swath through the jungle of illusion and Maya in the first place. Srila Prabhupada cleared the road and made it a golden road of unalloyed devotional service that we can all walk on very smoothly. As far as the miscreants are concerned, for them devotional service is very difficult because their lives are selfish, irregular, and without spiritual goals. One very, very good litmus test that we can look in ourselves and for everyone else: do you have a desire to help others? If you do, you should know that you are well on the way, if not already, to being a saintly person. Now, ultimately, people should be educated what is the greatest type of charity. There are two terms that Lord Chaitanya uses, prayasi and shreyasi. This Sankirtan movement is shreyasi. It is the topmost benediction for humanity at large. If you solve the love of God problem, which is the nectar for which the happiness that we're always seeking but never finding. We try to find it in different types of relationships, different types of living situations, different types of stimulation, art, music, dance, culture, this, that, the other thing. Prabhupada writes in the first canto, because all of those things are not completely compatible on the spiritual platform. They give a hint to what's ultimately there in the pure essence in the spiritual world, but because they've manifested themselves materially, and because we ultimately are completely pure and spiritual, they're incompatible with the innermost stratum of our soul. So when we come in contact with pure spiritual energy, then no matter, there's a saying, no matter how long one has been denied or has been not even ever experienced the truth, when it finally appears, everyone can recognize it. But even the miscreants, if they, by chance, when they come in contact with a pure devotee, they also become pure devotees gradually. And as I was saying, Rupa Goswami, the chief disciple of Lord Chaitanya, says, somehow or another become Krishna conscious, rules and regulations can come later. He doesn't say how much later. An hour from now, the end of the day, tomorrow morning, next week, next month, 3 months from now, next year, 5 years, 10 years, next life, 5 lifetimes, 10 lifetimes. On the spiritual platform, time is conspicuous by its absence. And without the, we say that word, intervention, you're really messed up, my friend. You need an intervention. You know, people come to the stage, I can't do this myself, I need help. You go to like, with NAA, I'm an alcoholic, I admit it, even at like 20 years clean, like that, Narcotics Anonymous. So, the ultimate intervention of the pure devotee is that he stops what would have been our normal karmic implication. And if not in this lifetime, even we don't know, we can't see the power of the holy name. Prabhupada, on his prayer in the Boston Harbor, September 18th, yesterday was the 60th anniversary of Prabhupada arriving at the 17th Brooklyn Red Hook Navy Yard. After Boston, then it came around the Long Island, not the Long Island Sound, the South Shore of Long Island, through the Verrazano, past the Statue of Liberty, Brooklyn Pier, not yet. Statue of Liberty would be further, okay. And he, what was I saying just before I told Prabhupada landed in Boston? Just the last sentence.
He said yesterday was the anniversary of 60-year anniversary, you said?
Prabhupada arriving here in New York. Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway,
You were saying also that...
huh?
But
What?
Intervention.
Intervention.
You said that people say you need intervention.
Right. So the pure devotee intervenes between our normal karma and what could have been a long time becomes very, very short. If someone was destined to be in this material world for 100 or 300 or even more lifetimes, if it's reduced to 2 or 3, the power of the holy name, if not in any type of contact with devotional service, actually, Apurva Prabhu, he was one of the Prabhupada disciples speaking, he was saying how everything is equal and connected in devotional service. Indeed it is. So, of course, those who go out preaching and distributing books, etc., what is the saying? It's even said in the military, the army runs on its stomach, right? Good food. So most people are not going to take to Krishna consciousness directly, either by philosophy or by hearing the holy name. They're too covered over, they're too much implicated, they're too much invested in material life. But what do those same too much invested, too much implicated in material life have to do at least 2 or 3 times a day? They got to eat,
Right. Yeah.
right? So the spiritual master is always offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious foodstuffs, all the different, everything that you could possibly make, save and except there's no meat, fish, eggs, and other poisonous or not proper things to offer, but everything else. And he's offering it to Krishna for his satisfaction, and that prasad or food stuff becomes sanctified and holy, and anyone who eats it advances in devotional service and purifies themselves equally as one who takes to hearing the philosophy, hearing the holy name, or actively taking part. So Prabhupada called prasadam distribution his secret weapon. And even sometimes people go, man, I've eaten, whatever it is, macaroni, or I don't think it's something, but this halva is, I think that's our personal thing. Actually, there was a story in O'Hare Airport, and all the devotees went into like a corner, an area, and they're being served fresh hot chapatis, and one businessman walks by with, hey, how much for that tortilla? And there was a tortilla, and the devotee said, 2 for $5. And he gave, and he says, what, no meat? And then the vote, yeah, we got, and they put like a sabji, and on the other one he ate halva, and the guy didn't know he was not eating meat. Wow, that tastes great. Can I have some more? So, yeah, I think that's in the book called Oh Hare Krishna Airport. There's a book about book distribution at O'Hare Airport. You must have seen it.
No.
Yeah.
Who's it written?
Huh?
Who's it by?
I forget who wrote it. I think whoever wrote it has passed away now, but it was being discussed at the Prabhupada Disciple Kata in Boston.
You have that?
I don't. I think it was a limited printing. So,
He found out. Rama.
there you go. That's right. Is it available? Can you buy it on something or other? Amazon or some devotee site?
Etsy.
Etsy.com. It's available.
Okay.
Is it a Trinakarta?
Trinakarta, that sounds right.
Yeah, Tranakarta, that's a paperwork.
All right, so back to the purport here in the verse, 814. A pure devotee does not desire promotion to heavenly planets, nor does he seek oneness with the Brahma Jyoti, or salvation or liberation. So this impersonal liberation, here we are, we're individuals, we have an identity, we have senses, we're moving about, we're seeing color, form, shape, we have things. So how could liberation, which is purportedly superior to being in a material world where we're going to get old and die and probably get some type of disease before we meet death. So how is oneness, no relationship, no form or body, just nothingness, zero, just bright light? How is that attractive to anybody to really give up material life and what we have here? A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. I'm here right now, and that's the argument to the atheists, say you better, the good people, you better leave a moral life, this and that, because afterwards you're going to suffer. I don't know that there's anything afterwards, but I better enjoy now because afterwards it's all finished. So impersonal liberation cannot attract people, ultimately. So a pure devotee does not want that. He does not want oneness with the Brahma Jyoti or salvation or liberation. A pure devotee does not desire anything. So if Krishna wants, Krishna is the very self of ourself, and his desires are our primordial desires. That is the perfection of self-realization. Missing Krishna means you miss yourself. Knowing Krishna means you meet yourself. What is it? In divinity and divine service, the knot in the heart is pierced and all material desires are destroyed when one realizes that the self is mastered. Perfect peace perfect peace. Belongs to him alone, not to them who strive for personal gain. There might be a temporary feeling of peace by doing these other processes, but by time and the modes of nature, that peace will be overturned. Just like a peace or an armistice, the war is over, time goes by, there's another war, there's another conflict, there's another fight. That's not perfect peace, that's temporary peace. So you can do these other processes, whereas a jnana yogi, karma yogi, hatha yogi has his own selfishness. It's jnana, knowledge. And they become proud, thinking that they know more by their so-called insight. What's the difference between little kids in the schoolyard? I know something you don't know. I'm better than you. Karma yogi. You know, what is that saying? He who dies with the most toys wins the game. You know, whoever has the most money, the most buildings, the most property. Karma yogi. And hatha yogi. You know, people take to hatha yoga so they can have a nice body, attractive, long living. What is the goal of having a nice body? I'll leave it to you to understand. For his own selfish interests. Now in the gym, hatha yoga has become so financially viable that they'll have a hatha yoga program going along in the gymnasium. You know, and they make these gyms, they would just have these big, gigantic 40, 50, 60-story buildings in downtown Brooklyn. And on the third floor, you know, one of the lower floors, and big, big windows, you see everybody exercising, pumping, and showing their bodies moving, you know. What is that all about? It's not a very good motivation. Therefore, the Lord says that for anyone who is unflinchingly engaged in devotional service, he is easy to attain. A pure devotee always engages in devotional service to Krishna in one of his various personal features. Krishna has various plenary expansions and incarnations, and the devotee can choose to fix his mind in loving service to any of those transcendental forms. Such a devotee meets with none of the problems that plague their practitioners of other yogas. Bhakti yoga is very simple and pure and easy to perform. Later in the 9th chapters, Shushukam Kartam Avyayam. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It gives direct perception of the self-realization. It is everlasting and it is joyfully performed. One can simply begin by chanting Hare Krishna. The Lord is merciful to all, but as we have already explained, he is especially inclined toward those who always serve him without deviation. The Lord helps such devotees in various ways. One who is fully surrendered and engaged in devotional service to the Lord can understand the Lord as he is. So devotional service is first and primary, and then knowledge comes automatically. One very renowned scholar, I think he might have even been the president or chief professor at one of the most prestigious universities in Calcutta. We're going back into the 1920s, early 1930s. And he had a friendly relationship with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, who is universally renowned as the greatest devotional scholar, practically equal to Srila Jiva Goswami, who had lived some 350 years earlier. And he had a very intricate question about Vedic scriptures. And he came to the Calcutta headquarters, the main Gaudiya Math temple, and he wanted to see Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta tested him, said, all right, but first I want you to go help the Brahmin pujaris who were engaged in polishing the brass utensils in the pujari room, which is, you know, not like something like an intellectual scholar would be doing. It's like scrubbing and cleaning and, you know, spending a lot of time. Maybe your muscles get sore. And after you're finished, you come and you can ask your question. So this man was not proud or unduly proud. He accepted. And he did that. When, you know, doing this with younger disciples who were like 20, 30 years his junior. And then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta afterwards, so now you can ask your questions. I do not need to ask the question. Simply by polishing these brass utensils, everything that I had a question of has been revealed. I know. So he performed the devotional service humbly, without a superiority complex, and everything was revealed within his heart. So he performs his devotional service without deviation, and there should be no impediments. He should carry out his service anywhere and at any time. And Prabhupada goes on to say that, and this is a type, in my opinion, maybe indulged in by those who are not so mature, or maybe looking for an easy way out. Let us just go live and spend our time in a holy place and just engage in personal bhajan. That is all right, but there's a higher form of devotional service of which Srila Prabhupada is demonstrating and instructing and desiring his followers to follow, which is to reside in places where people, not in, New York City is not arguably a holy place like Vrindavan. The inhabitants of New York City are not engaged like the inhabitants of the holy place of Vrindavan. Their activities and their desires and their aspirations are different. Yes? So the pure devotee, some say that he should remain in holy places like Vrindavan or some holy town where the Lord lived. But a pure devotee can live anywhere, and not just live there, but create the atmosphere of Vrindavan by his pure and empowered devotional service. Just like Srila Prabhupada did by coming and residing here. And then the movement very rapidly expanded. In just a year and a half, it went from 1 or 2 temples to 10, 20 temples. By the time of his departure, some 10 years after, it was 108 temples. How many temples and affiliated farms and ashrams are there worldwide? I believe it's over 1,000 now. In New Delhi alone, there's 18 temples, for example. So, regularly or every day, a pure devotee constantly remembers Krishna and meditates on him. These are the qualifications of the pure devotee for whom the Lord is most easily attainable. Krishna, the pamphlet, the very sound is transcendental. Krishna means all attractive. Krishna is the sum total of all beautiful and desirable experiences in whatever medium or genre or category that we see in this world, in complete and unlimited eternal purity. Everything is in the name of Krishna. So everything you want is in Krishna. So why wouldn't want to be in contact with that reservoir of pleasure at every moment, all the time? It's just common sense. And then Prabhupada goes on to describe the position of the topmost devotees who have renovated their eternal rasa relationship with Krishna. Neutrality, servitude, friendship, parenthood, and universally understood to be the highest relationship in conjugal love with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Akila Rasamrita Sindhu Murti, the reservoir of all relationships. In any of these ways, the pure devotee is always constantly engaged in transcendental loving service of the Lord. And as the devotee cannot forget the Supreme Lord cannot forget the devotee. This is the great blessing of Krishna consciousness in the process of chanting the Maha Mantra. So that is why it is so much desirable and so much wanted to have constant chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And Prabhupada wanted it in the beginning to be in the holy places of Vrindavan, where it's been non-stop for 38 years, coming on 39 years this October, the anniversary, 1986. Hasn't quite been done in Mayapur yet. Well, they have Prabhupada's Bhajan Kutir in a small scale, but not in the temple. And when asked to Srila Prabhupada, why not in all the temples around the world, Prabhupada gave a two-word answer. He answered the question with another question, a two-word response. Why not? So I will conclude here. Thank you for your kind attention. Any questions on the verse and things that we had under discussion?
What is reading?
Sergey, yes, sir.
What is readings only in chapter 8 and chapter 10?
Okay, the thing, I'm going to have to either speak loud or what you say will be relayed to me.
Were these